Alright, this assignment's really straightforward. You're going to draw a wine glass, and you're going to learn how to use the pen tool in conjunction with the rotate or reflect commands and the join commands. A command is any simple process that's not included as a tool or a palette or panel option. It's usually a menu command option. So you'll kind of learn what that is in the demonstration. There's a simple tutorial I've written up as well that you can read if you do not like the video or watching the videos as you complete this. It will walk you through the exact same set of steps in pictures and words that I will go through at the end of this here. Here's some student examples. Doesn't have to be a pretty looking wine glass obviously, but it should wind up looking somewhat like this. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to draw a symmetrical symbol or a symmetrical object, specifically a wine glass. So I'm going to walk you through just the basics of actually how to draw it. I'm not going to show you how to open a file and create a new file. I assume you know how to do that from the previous lessons. If not, go back, check out those videos, brush up on how to do that. First things first, we're going to want to create some guides, and we're going to want to turn on the grid and the ruler. To make the ruler and the grids visible, we're going to go to View, and then Rulers, and then Show Rulers, and then you'll notice the ruler will show up. To change the ruler units, you just right click on it and change it from inches to points or centimeters, whatever you prefer. Now we're going to turn on the grids, go to View, and then Show Grid. Okay, this is going to give us a grid on our paper with dark lines at the inch and then subdivisions by 8. If you want to change the preferences of that, go to Edit, Preferences, Guides and Grid, and you can change that from, you know, a grid line every 2 inches with 12 subdivisions or something weird. It's up to you. You can change the color. You can also change the guide colors, which is what we're going to make next here. We're going to make a guide. I have mine set to purple. You can, by default, they're set to blue, and you can change it to whatever color you want. So click OK. Alright, to make a guide, you need to have the ruler visible. So I'm going to click and drag this guide to the middle of my document. Okay? And you're going to notice that the guide is kind of like this infinitely long purple line. And it's going to help me line up my line of symmetry for my wine glass. Anything I draw will snap to this point here. So it's really handy if you're trying to make something a certain size or make it within some constraints. Drop down some guides and you can keep it kind of locked in place. Another handy thing to do when you're using guides in the grid is to turn on Snap to Grid. To turn on Snap to Grid, you're going to go to View and click on the Snap to Grid option. When you turn on Snap to Grid, Smart Guides will not be visible. And the reason for that is because everything is going to snap to one of your grid points. So if I kind of zoom in here and I want to make the top of my wine glass a guide for that, I can click and drag down a guide, and you'll notice it'll snap into one of my grid line positions here. So I'm going to make mine about 5 inches tall, so I'm going to drag it 5 inches down and let go right there. And if you leave this on, you're going to notice when you draw that all your handles and all your points snap to grid lines, and I kind of don't want that, so I'm going to turn that off for now. View, and then uncheck Snap to Grid. Now we can start drawing our wine glass. So I'm going to switch to my pen tool. And I'm not going to go over how to actually draw this. I'm going to kind of assume you sort of have a handle on the pen tool by now. And if you don't remember the basics, you can draw it. You can use your Alt key to click out handles. So if I click once, I'll make a straight line. If I hold down the Alt key and click, I'll pull out a handle. And then click and drag here. If I want to re-pull a handle, I just go back to my point and re-pull it. Okay, and then I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. And we're going to pull this out. And I'm going to Alt-click on that point to get rid of that handle. Click on the bottom here once to make a straight line, and then click here in the middle to click another straight line. And we've basically built half of our wine glass. If yours didn't turn out so good, that's okay. Just go back to your direct select tool and you can move around your anchor points if you want. You can adjust your handles if you want. You can move those anchor points to wherever you need them to be. You can click and hold on your pen tool to go to your convert anchor point tool, and that will allow you to re-pull handles and break handles if you need to re-stretch those or make corners. Now we're going to take our wine glass and we're going to copy it to the other side. So to do that, you want to make sure that you deselect your wine glass. So I switched to my selection tool and I clicked off of my wine glass. This is important. If you only have one anchor point selected and then nothing else selected and you try to do these next couple of steps, you can get kind of messed up and you'll only rotate one anchor point as opposed to the entire object, which kind of creates a mess. So deselect your object by clicking off of it and then select it by clicking on it. And then we're going to go to the reflect tool. The reflect tool is over here underneath the rotate tool. So to get to it, we're going to click and hold on the rotate tool in the toolbox, and then we're going to release our mouse button over the reflect tool. Now, don't click. Just notice here that you have a little cursor, a little purple cursor here. That's the midpoint where you're going to make your reflection. And then your mouse cursor changed as well, so it changed to this little crosshair. We're going to set that crosshair on our guideline here because we want to reflect our wine glass to the other side over here. So we're going to change the location of this. So just click once on that middle guideline to reset it, and you'll notice that your cursor will change to an arrow. And we can, if we click now, it'll just reflect the object. But we're going to copy and reflect our object. So to do that, all you got to do is hold down the Alt key and then click on your object. And you'll notice that there'll be a whole nother new object on this side. You know, it'll actually kind of be all loosey-goosey. So we can rotate it at you know, whatever degree we want to rotate it at. If we just want to flip it straight across, just hold down the Shift key, and that'll keep it constrained to 45 or 90 degree angles. And then what you want to do is you want to let go of your mouse first. Okay? That'll ensure that it stays 90 degrees across from this. If you let go of the Shift key and then your mouse, it'll probably let go of it at a weird angle, and you don't want to do that. Now, that can be kind of frustrating for some students. So I'm going to show you another way to copy an object with the reflect tool. So another way to copy objects with the reflect tool is by using the options for that tool. So if I Control Z real quick here, okay, I'm back to my regular tool, select tool now. Okay, I'm just going to select my object just like I did at the beginning. And then instead of just clicking on the reflect tool, I'm going to double click on the reflect tool. You'll notice that you're going to have this little dialog box pop up. And you got some options here. I'm going to check the preview box, and you'll notice that the angle is already set to 90 degrees and it's set to a vertical reflection. We don't want a horizontal reflection, we want a vertical reflection. We actually wanted at 90 degrees, so that's pretty good for now. But instead of just clicking OK to just reflect that half, we're going to make a copy of that. So I'm going to click on copy. And now we have a perfect copied half of our wine glass. And then I can take my regular selection tool and I can just move this over here and line it up with my other half. Okay? Now we're going to close the shape using the join command. This is kind of an important command if you want closed shapes, which are important for creating Pathfinder shapes, compound shapes, and a whole lot of other things in Illustrator. So you want to get in the habit of creating closed shapes and making sure your shapes are closed. The join command is a really great command for that if you don't want to use the pen tool. I'm going to zoom into the top of this wine glass here, and you'll notice our 2 points are overlapping. I'm going to take the direct select tool. What you're going to do is you're going to click and drag to select both of those anchor points. They should be overlapping. Hopefully they are. If you did your reflect right and you lined up both points on the guide here. Once both points are selected with the direct select tool, go to Object, Path, and then Join. You'll notice the hotkey for this is Control-J. Remember that. I'll show you how to use the hotkey for the next join. Click on the Join option, and those 2 points will be joined together. If you take your direct select tool now and try to move them apart, they'll act as if they're one point. So that's a good thing. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay? And I actually don't need this point. If you zoom out, you'll notice it's a straight line right here. So I can go back to my pen tool, okay, and I can use the delete anchor point tool, or I can just go to the pen tool. And if I hover my pen tool over that anchor point, it'll turn to a minus sign, and that means we can delete that. So now we have just a nice smooth connected shape. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing down here. We're just going to take the direct select tool, highlight both points, and then hit Control-J, and that joins them. You can always pull apart your points to check to see if they actually connected, and then you can switch to your pen tool to get rid of those points if they're on a straight path. So that's how you create a symmetrical wine glass